Hey guys, OG Albino here, bringing us another Draft League tier list video. Today we have one that has been widely requested by a ton of different people in our community, in our comment section, in our Discord server, which you can join in the description below. And that is going to be doing a ranking of every single item as they pertain in the Draft League format. If you guys do enjoy today's video and are excited to give it a watch, be sure to drop a like on the video, as well as subscribe to the channel. We are on our way to 3,000 subs, and we only have, what, like 3 more days until we hit the end of the year. I really want to hit 3,000 before the end of the year. We'll see if it's possible. Regardless, we got really close, and I really appreciate all your guys' support over the last few years of me uploading. And yeah, with that being said, we can jump into it. Now, ground rules. Obviously, you can see we have S, A, B, C, and D. And then the bottom here, we have banned / not used. So banned / not used is going to be items that are either banned, like say like Quick Claw is going to be one of them, because they're deemed pretty uncompetitive by the major Draft League space, or not used isn't necessarily like so bad they're not used. I more so meant like exclusive items, like the Adamant Orb and Crystalite right here. These guys are going to go ahead and go right here because they simply are not used in a competitive setting outside of on like Dialga, which is too broken, right? Obviously nothing else, because it doesn't really give any benefit to anything. So those guys are going to be kind of excluded from the tier list because it's obvious that they're going to be at the bottom. And yeah, with that being said, other than that, we're going to just go ahead and start ranking things. First up, we have the ability shield. And if I do need to look these up based on like their what they look like to me, I might need to do so. So you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit. This is gonna be a longer video, obviously. But the ability shield, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in C. It's probably borderline bottom of C, top of D, but I have seen some niche interactions with this thing on like different Magic Bounce Pokemon to stop different Pokemon, like you know, different Mold Breaker mons trying to set up rocks on a Hatterene, I believe is how that works. Like I know I've seen Hatterene run this thing. I know in VGC someone ran like Glare and Weezing with Ability Shield Landers to kind of block, neutralize, and gas. Now you don't see too many interactions like that with Weezing in draft on the other side, but you definitely could, right? If I know Weezing is coming on the other side, I might be a little bit more likely to slap an ability shield on something I really need the ability to proc from, right? So definitely a very, very viable option in my opinion. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and put it in C here. Next up, we have, I believe, the Absorb Bulb. And I'm pretty sure this thing is pretty darn terrible. Yeah, raises the holder's special attack by 1 stage hit by a water attack. Single use. I'm going to go ahead and put this in D. I don't think it's too crazy to do so. I don't think I've ever seen this item run. And if I did, it's an Amel item. Maybe D should be the Amel items, because he would find a way to use them. But they're still really bad, obviously. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and D. We're going to like zoom through the ones that are obviously very bad and kind of just throw them down there. Next up, we have the Adrenaline Orb. I'm going to put Adrenaline Orb in C here. This is an item that does have, you know, decent amounts of use and things like that, in the sense that if I know some kind of Intim mon is coming, maybe on like my Milotic, if I'm running like a competitive Milotic, right? I run an Adrenaline Orb, I get my competitive boost on the switch in, and on top of that, I get my Adrenaline Orb boost on the switch in. Same thing with, I've seen Adrenaline Orb Thundy Eye with Defiant before. So like there's definitely plenty of uses. Obviously, Defiant Pokemon are another thing to immediately get that speed boost, as well as that you know, attack or special attack boost is very, very valuable in my opinion. And it's just a cool item in general. It's another way to punish defog in very niche instances. So I think C is fine because I have seen enough to justify putting it there, right? I've definitely seen it. Next up, we have Air Balloon. And I won't lie to you, I'm a big air balloon guy. I am a massive, massive air balloon guy. I'm going to go ahead and put it in B right now. It's probably going to be low B / mid B, but personally, I would even like argue it going higher. I don't know. I think objectively, we're going to put it in B. Having a guaranteed immunity to one of the strongest offensive typings in the game is so incredibly valuable. There are a ton of Pokemon that you can run an air balloon on, like your fairy types, you know, that aren't weak to ground typically. And you're like, why would you run that on a fairy type? Well, say I'm going into a Garchomp matchup, right? An SD Scale Shot EQ just smashes me, but there's no reason for other coverage, so they're probably going to go SD with Sub or SD with Spikes or Rocks or something like that. If I have that air balloon plus that fairy typing, Garchomp's dual stabs are completely well for me. There's a very, very good chance that it simply will not be able to hit me at all with those earthquakes. So I think that's a really, really valuable aspect of this. Same thing with like a Klefki. I've run that on Klefki multiple times. Obviously, being able to switch in on that ground move and then even Magnet Rise after if it does get popped is incredibly, incredibly valuable. It's great to get free turns, and I think getting free turns and maintaining initiative in draft is such an important thing that we're going to go ahead and put it there. Next up is, oh man, there's also going to be a test of like the items I actually know, right? This is the Apricot Berry, which is going to raise holders per death by 1 stage if 1/4 max HP or less. I mean, this is really bad. We're going to go ahead and put this guy right down here. Outside of this, what's this berry? Oh my goodness. We're just going to type in A. And let's see if we can see it. Asphere Berry, this is the Freeze Berry. Again, another item that's just simply not going to be used. You're typically going to run Lum if you're really that scared of a freeze, I suppose. Apricot is a crazy item to run. Like, an absolutely crazy item to run. Next up, I think we're going to have our first S-tier item right here, though. I really do think we're going to have our first S-tier item. That's going to go ahead and be the Assault Vest. This might be a hot take, but I love AV. There's not really a lot of great ways of sponging special attacks in the game. There's no special Intimidate or anything like that. Whereas the AV is really going to allow us to do so, and there's so many Pokemon that very much so benefit from having this, especially in a Draft League metagame where, say, I just know that I want coverage here, 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 and here. There was a Draft League game the other day where I was with Serp, and I wanted 4 attacks. I was playing a Gen 7 game. I had Leaf Storm, Dragon Pulse, Hidden Power Ground, and Knockoff, and I was like, okay. Or Hidden Power Fire. I was playing a Mega Scizor. Leaf Storm, Dragon Pulse, Hidden Power Fire, and Knockoff. And I was like, okay. Well, what item do I go? Fuck, I just go Assault Vest to let me check the Thundy incredibly, which is obviously very good. And anything that's an like a defensive item that kind of lets us take the hits that we need to, not immediately get smoked, but also doesn't really cut into our own offenses and doesn't make us any more passive in such an offensive metagame that Gen 9 is. I think it's a very valuable item, and I think AV is definitely one of those items that you see very, very consistently in the format, which kind of shows, you know, its level of, you know, dominance and, you know, its level of viability. Now, this is going to be maybe a hot take, right? But I am personally going to put every single one of the resist berries, the first one, Babiri, and once we see one, we will move it up to S tier. Well, I guess I just said it, in S tier. I think that resist berries make and break Draft League. I am a berry I am the berry master. I will run a Babiri, a Shuka, Colbur on at least 1 or 2 mons every single week. There's been weeks where I've run 3 to 4 resist berries. Being able to take that guaranteed super effective hit 100% of the time, pretty much, you know, as long as you're using on the right Pokemon, is so incredibly valuable in allowing for setup opportunities, in allowing for a lure and a revenge kill, in allowing for a better pivot, in allowing for a mid-ground, in allowing for, like, there's so many things that these resist berries do, and I think that they are legitimately, like, top 3 items in Draft League. I love the resist berries. I think they're absolutely incredible. So it's going to kind of take up a lot of S tier for us, is going to be those resist berries. They're absolutely incredible. So they're going to go ahead and go up there in S tier. Next up, we have the Big Root. Big Root's going to go probably higher in D tier. I don't think I've ever seen Big Root used in drafts. You might see some kind of niche application for it with some Giga Drain spamming Mon. I think I might have seen like Big Root Comfey before, but even then it's probably not great, right? There's probably a better item for it, and someone just wanted to run Big Root or thought the Big Root was the most optimal item when it probably wasn't, unfortunately. So it's gonna go there. And we have the Binding Band. Binding Band's also going to go in D tier. I have seen this before on different trapping sets. I always forget what the difference between Binding Band and the other one is. This one is holders partial trapping will do 1/6 instead of 1/8. So it does a decent amount. So like on like Fire Spin Mons, Whirlpool Mons, you might see a Binding Band if it helps put it in range of some other hit or something like that. But typically you're probably going to run, what do you call it? Is it Razor Claw? Is that the one that, you know, increases the amount of turns? No, that's not it. I don't remember what it is. We'll see it obviously as we go throughout here. But yeah. Next up is Black Belt. And we're going to go ahead and put all of these type boosting items as well in B tier. Because there's plenty of instances where these type boosting items... Do I want to put them in B tier? I want to put them in C tier. Oh, man. This is going to be hard. This is going to be hard. I think I'm going to put them in B tier. I think they are very, and I think that's a cool thing about draft, right? There's so many really, really good items that are very viable. We're going to put all the type boosting items in B tier because it's great to have just a strong boost on a stab or something of the sorts when it's incredibly stimmable. If I know I'm clicking mono fighting attacks, probably Black Belt is great to not lock me in with a choice band, not take chip with a life orb. Maybe I don't hit a lot of things super effectively, so getting that boost is great. Obviously, Silk Scarf is one of those types of ones that comes to mind in that regard too. So I think I'm going to put them in B tier. Maybe they are lower end B tier, but they are going to go in B tier. Same thing with Black Glasses right here. I'm also going to go ahead and put Black Sludge here in B tier. Now, again, it could be a little bit of a hot take because I'm going to put Leftovers much higher, but Black Sludge is one niche. It only works on poison types. It's going to hurt you otherwise. Now, it is nice to trick Black Sludges. Like mons like Gengar will very often run like Trick Black Sludge to get that onto a Pokemon and really whittle them down. But on top of that, I think it's a little bit tougher in a generation where Terra is a thing. If your poison type is a Terra Pokemon, you're probably not running Black Sludge because you might change into something that is not a poison type. And if you are a Terramon that is Terra Poison, right, and you're like just staying your stab type, going Black Sludge kind of tips off your opponent as to what Terra type you are, because you're not running Black Sludge with Terra Fairy, right? Because then you're just going to hurt yourself after. So I think this is actually the worst Black Sludge has ever been, and very often just run leftovers. If your poison type can Terra, run leftovers. So that's where I'm going to put it at the very least. Next up, we have Blunder Policy. Blunder Policy is going to go and see. I'm a big Blunder Policy hater. I really don't like this move or this item in application. I hate having to rely on any kind of luck, cheese, missing and then hitting and all that stuff. There is cool things that you can do with it. I think like Blunder Policy Darkrai is a set that I've seen a lot lately. I think it's a little bit more viable because if you do accidentally put something to sleep, you have bad dreams, which is very, very nice. I think I did the same thing with Circuitry in Gen 8 when it lost access. Obviously, like Z Electric Terrain and Z Hypnosis, you would run, you know, Blunder Policy Hypnosis instead and be able to put things to sleep potentially, / get a +2 speed boost, which is really, really clutch on a Pokemon that strong. So there are niche applications for Blunder Policy to be good, but overall, it's pretty mediocre. All right, next up, we have A tier Booster Energy. Now, Booster Energy as an item, if everything could hold it, it would be an S tier item, and it would probably be the best item in the game, potentially bannable. But the fact that only Paradox Pokemon can hold it is going to be the thing that keeps it an A tier for me, because I think it is obviously more niche in application. Everything cannot run Booster Energy in draft. Like a handful of 10 to 15 mons can run it. Now, a lot of them run it very viably and are very good. Mons like Booster Valiant are just absolute menaces. You get up that booster speed, and then you Calm Mind or SD, and the game might be over because you got multiple means of boosting. There's other Pokemon that can boost in multiple stats, and obviously that's great. Mons like we just mentioned Valiant getting an attack and a speed boost or a special attack boost. We can mention Pokemon like Slitherwing, mention Pokemon like Roaring Moon, mention Pokemon like Iron Treads, mention Pokemon like Great Tusk. They can boost in multiple different stats, which is going to make them much scarier offensively or defensively, and make them very, very terrifying to deal with. But again, them being an A tier is not because the item is worse than like the items in S tier. It's because they're not able to be used on as many Pokemon. So I think that makes them less viable in response to that, I guess, is the best way of putting it. Next up, we have Bright Powder. Bright Powder is going to be banned. Please don't play in a league that allows Bright Powder. That's not fun nor competitive. Please don't do it. Sorry, one sec. I got an email and I need to make sure it's not like something scary. Jesus. Fun stuff. It was something fun work related. Okay, but now we have Cell Battery. Cell Battery is going to go down here. I actually forget what Cell Battery even does. Cell Battery, it's electric water absorb. So terrible. Pretty simple stuff. Then we have Charcoal. Charcoal's going to go up here in B tier with all the type boosting items. Chardy Berry is going to go up here in S tier with all the type resisting berries. Cherry Berry is... Dude, I'm proud of myself for how many of these I know off rip. Cherry Berry is going to go down here in D tier. Very seldom are you going to run a Cherry Berry over a Lum Berry. Maybe there is an instance in which you want to be able to go to sleep and rest, but you don't want to be able to... you don't want your berry to pop on you getting paired by like a Discharge or a Thunder Wave. That is a niche instance in which Cherry Berry can be used, so I guess I'll put it like higher in D tier than it is right now, but there's in 99.9% of instances, you're probably just going to run a Lum Berry, right? You're probably just going to run a Lum Berry, or if you're a rest set, you're probably just going to run a Chesto Berry in that instance so that you can, do so. But yeah, or say you wanted to be like rest talk, but you didn't want to get paired. This is like literally the only instance that I can think of. I kind of explained that wrong, but yeah. Next up is the Chesto Berry, though. I'm going to go ahead and put Chesto in... I'm going to put it at the bottom of B. There's a lot of really good items in draft. I think like the way we're splitting up is good items, great items, meta-defining items, and then C is niche items. And I think Chesto Berry at least goes in good items, right? Because again, this is more likely to happen. Say I get burned on my Snorlax, Toxic on my Snorlax, Thunder Wave on my Snorlax, and I want to set up Curse. I don't want my berry to pop and get rid of those statuses. I wanted to get rid of my status when I resto Chesto up and get back up to full, immediately wake up. I think that is going to be much, much more valuable. So we're going to go ahead and put it up there. Next up, we have the Chhon Berry. We're going to go ahead and put this in S tier. This is the normal type reducing berry, which is a really cool one because anything can use this, even Pokemon that are not weak to normal, because you cannot be weak to normal. Whereas a Pokemon that's not weak to rock can't run a Chardy Berry. Pokemon that's not weak to steel can't run a Babiri Berry, right? So I think that's definitely a cool one. The next up, we have another really good one, and this is one I'm really struggling with where I want to put it personally. This is going to be the Choice Band. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and put the Choice Band and Scarf up in A tier, and I'm going to put the Choice Band Specs up in A tier, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the Choice Scarf up here in S tier. Now, why do I have these three items separated? They all have the same negative drawback, right? In the first move you click, you get locked into, while giving a 1.5 times boost to either your attack, special attack, or speed, depending on which item you're holding. The reason is because that downside is very big. A lot of people don't really like to acknowledge that being locked into a move is very detrimental in a lot of instances, and it really forces you to play very particularly in a lot of instances, right? But I think that the gain from boosting your speed is so much more valuable than getting a boost in your attack or your special attack. I think speed control is king in competitive Pokemon and Draft League in particular, and guaranteed outspeeding your opponent's entire unboosted team, or having a Scarfer that's faster than their Dragon Dance Pokemon to stop you from getting absolutely swept and destroyed in that manner is very valuable, outside of having a really strong breaker or a really strong physical or special attacker. I think it is much better to gain the speed advantage if you're going to be locked into a move, because at least then maybe say I'm in with a Landorus, right, and I click Earthquake on a ground weak mon, it dies. Then in comes the flying type, right? In comes the flying type, I'm going to have to be forced out. It Dragon Dances or something like that. I switch out, but I can switch back in, still potentially be faster, hit that thing with a Stone Edge. If I'm Choice Banded in, I'm slower when I come in, so that's obviously bad. So I'm going to go ahead and put Choice Scarf in S tier, and then Band and Specs in A tier. Alrighty, after our brief intermission, we are back with the Chhon Berry, which obviously going to go up here in S tier with all of the other type-reducing berries. Then we have the Clear Amulet, which I think is a really cool item that's going to go here in B tier. Again, definitely a very, very solid item, right? Being able to, stop stat drops. Very often you're going to see it on physical attackers that you don't want to get intimed, and that can really make or break a game and really change your opponent's game plan. If they think that they can take on a Pokemon by intim shuffling it, they switch in, and then your Clear Amulet, they might go, uh-oh, I lose, right? And that could be a really bad thing. So I think B tier is perfect for that guy. Cobra Berry, Covert Berry. I know all the resist berries. I told you guys. I know all the resist berries. Those are going to go up in S tier. Covert Cloak is going to go here in B tier. This is a really good item. I love Covert Cloak, personally. I'm going to go ahead and put this up here towards the top of B. Being able to completely be immune to any kind of secondary effects from Pokemon, whether they be drops, flinches, burns, things like that, is very, very valuable on a ton of Pokemon. Again, it's the Jirachi item. It's a great item in Mons like, that spread a lot of passive damage through, like, Sludge Bombs and things like that. It's great on physical attackers if you don't want to get burned by Scald. Obviously, if you're, like, a Dragon type and, like, their means of getting you is going to be Scald burning you or something like that, you can turn a lot of Pokemon into setup fodder, which is really, really awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here in the top of B tier. Borderline A tier, I think, could be the case if we see it used a little bit more often, I guess, is the best way of putting it. But yeah, Custap Berry. Oh, baby. Custap's going in A tier. This is a good item right here. I think the mark of a good Draft League player is how often they use Big Custap, or at least how often they think about it in prep, whether that be with Sturdy Mons, whether that be with Endurmons, whether that be with Pokemon that are coming in and out and they know the calcs on the Pokemon. Custap and getting a guaranteed, plus priority, or at least upping a priority bracket when opponents are really slow and pretty much dead Pokemon is so incredibly valuable, whether that be to get a clutch spin off, get another layer of hazards, to get an explosion off, to get a Destiny Bond off, to get a big attack off. Gaining that pretty much guaranteed I'm faster than you this turn and you weren't expecting it is so big. And it's really big too if you consider how many times you'll hear Draft League players get something down to Sturdy and be like, ooh, is it Custap? I gotta be careful. If it's Custap, that's not good for me, right? So that's really cool. It's also a cool way of blocking removal. If you can boom on said Custap turns, you're gonna stop defogs and rapid spins from picking you off, which I think is obviously very, very good. So yeah. Next up, we have the Damp Rock. There's only 2 Pokemon in the game that can use it, so I'm going to put it in B tier, but it's obviously a great item, right? If you're running a rain team, it's pretty darn important that you have, in most instances, a Damp Rock on your Pokemon, Or potentially where's the heat rock gonna be? Might as well find it now, right? That's loaded dice, so heat's gonna be over here. Well, there's icy rock, there's heat rock, and where's smooth rock? Smooth rock, smooth rock, smooth rock. Even though it's not smooth at all. That's what it's called, right? It's smooth rock, which is crazy because that buddy's not smooth. No, he's not smooth. He's got 4 jagged crystals sticking out of him. But yeah, I think that's definitely a fair way of looking at it. I think that while not many Pokemon can use it, it's very important to, have it on there. Destiny Knot. What's Destiny Knot's battle effect? I know it's a big breeding item. Destiny Knot, there's no infatuation. Yeah, this is a terrible item. It's gonna go down here. What is going to be this? What is this claw? Dragon Fang. Oh, there you go. I was like, what is this claw? What is this thing? So this is going to go obviously here in B tier with other type, boosting items. Eject Button is an incredible item. Another A tier item, in my opinion, especially on Pokemon that have Regenerator, Pokemon that pivot and take 1 hit. Again, mons like Hatterene are going to be the biggest non-Regenerator examples for me. Say you want to come in on the ground type. If they set up rocks or spikes, you bounce them back. If they attack you, you get offensive initiative into your breaker that scares them out while giving yourself a free switch, not having to take a big earthquake potentially. So I think that's a very valuable thing. Or obviously on different Regenerator Pokemon, coming in, taking a hit, gaining initiative while getting your health back is going to be a very, very good thing. I think we can also put Red Card in the same vein, especially on those regen Pokemon. Being able to come in, take a hit, force out the opposing Pokemon is really, really big. Mimikyu is also a Pokemon that is incredible with Red Card. I think Mimikyu is only good when you're using it as a Red Card Pokemon. But yeah, definitely really, really good. We're going to go ahead and put a Jetpack probably here in C tier as well. I'm going to put it behind Adrenaline personally, but the main reason this isn't as big is because very often if your Pokemon's kicking a strong attack that's dropping their stats, like Draco or something like that, switching yourself out immediately isn't always valuable when you could also just be like Specs or like Life Orb or like Extra Belt or type boosting item or something like that, right? So very often a lot of the strong Pokemon that would want to use in a Jetpack, you typically see it used on like Leaf Storm, Overheat, Draco Meteor, things like that. They don't really want to get out, right? But there is cool instances in which a Jetpack can be used to gain momentum. I remember in Gen 8 in CGT one time, I ran a Jetpack Overheat Mew because I liked the damage that Overheat gave me on a lot of different Mew pivots, as well as giving me an instant momentum and getting out into something really, really strong and scary. But at the same time, am I gonna run that ever again? Probably no, because Mew gets a U-turn and Volt Switch, right? So why would I ever run that? And Flip Turn, I believe, right? I'm pretty sure it gets Flip Turn, but regardless, I definitely think that it's, going to be a really, really, really solid item in very niche instances. Maybe if this was Addison's list, she would put it in S tier, but not me. Electric Seed is also going to be a C tier item. Again, if you have Electric Trainer, if you're playing against Electric Trainer, it can be a very, very good item, but otherwise, you're probably never running it. Enigma Berry with the question marks. That's what I think when I'm wondering what it does. Restores 1/4 max HP after holders hit by a super effective move. I don't think I've ever seen this used. It's cool. We're gonna go ahead and put it in D tier. I love the design of it. I think the design is cool. Maybe that'll be a thumbnail item. But then we have Eviolite. Eviolite is going to go up here in A tier, in my opinion. So many Pokemon gain crazy viability due to this item. Again, I could think of like 20 Pokemon alone that hold Eviolite consistently in draft league setting. Hisuian Quillfish is one of them. Ursaring, Chansey, Porygon 2. Like, there's some really, really good Pokemon that use an Eviolite very consistently. Big Duraludon is a new benefactor of the item, so I think that's obviously going to be very, very cool. Then we have the Expert Belt. Expert Belt is going to go in B tier probably for me, right? I think Expert Belt is good, but very often if you're running Expert Belt in a mon, they might benefit from a Specs or a Life Orb more, or just a type, increasing item like a Black Belt or a Charcoal or something like that, right? There are instances where a Pokemon has crazy super effective coverage across a team though, and the Expert Belt is a little bit more viable and better to bring, but very often it's just not going to be the case necessarily, so I think that's going to keep it in B tier, but it is not a bad item by any stretch of the imagination. Sorry, I'm getting pinged. Oh, it's Alex giving me the Jujutsu Kaisen manga. Let's go, Alex. But yeah, Next up, we have Figgy Berry. Figgy's going to go in C tier as well. We're going to go ahead and put it in the back. Now, if this was Gen 7, this would be in like A tier / S tier. If you don't know, they nerfed the Figgy Berries going into Gen 8. They used to do 50% when you got down below, and now they only do 33, which means they're kind of mid unless you're a Gluttony Mon, because you really don't get that much health back very often. Citrus is just going to be safer and better to run if you're running a, health increasing berry. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and put it there. Next up, we have the Flame Orb. I'm really struggling with this one, whether I want to put this in B tier or C tier, because there's not a lot of great Guts Pokemon. Let's look at the current decks, how many Guts Pokemon there are. We have Conkeldurr, Ursaluna, Hariyama, Heracross, Girder, and Ursaring. Yeah, maybe in other gens. I don't know, though. There's not even that many Gutsmons in other gens. Really, the only big ones we're missing are going to be Machamp, Obstagoon, and Swellow. I'm going to go ahead and put this in high C tier. Now, maybe I'm tripping. I do think it really teeters between high C tier, low B tier. But the boost that you get on your Flame Orb in a lot of matchups with Pokemon that have Guts as their ability is going to be huge. There's also the instances where you have Pokemon with Marvel Scale like Milotic that are going to get a boost from Flame Orb, but I actually do think, this is my hot take, that Marvel Scale is, or Flame Orb is awful on Milo, and you're much better off running Boots or Leftovers. In 90% of instances, very often the burn chip that you are getting is going to put you in 2-hit KO range of the burns, or of the attacks that you wouldn't get to, or you get to a KO by anyways if you're just Leftovers or Boots, right? And making yourself weaker to those special attackers by taking constant chip every turn is a bad thing, especially in a generation where you only have 8 recovers. So I actually think that you should never run Flame Orb on your Milotic. I think it's actually terrible with Flame Orb, personally, in 90% of instances. Maybe there's the one matchup where the calcs work out perfectly, but other than that, I am going to lean saying don't run it. Pretty please. But yeah. Next up, we have the Float Stone. I've seen this item used like once or twice on like Gastrodon to take less damage from Grass Knots. I think Nexus ran on a Hippo a couple seasons ago in PPL, I want to say. Or somebody ran it against him. I'm not 100% sure, but we are going to go ahead and put this in D tier for sure. Focus Band, this is terrible. You put it down here. The better version of the item is going to be right here in the Focus Sash. I'm going to put Focus Sash in A tier because, especially in Gen 9, and I'm sure my buddy Kirby can attest to this. My buddy Kirby would attest that lead Focus Sash Pokemon are so valuable in this generation. Lead offensive Sash mons to either put your opponent in a bad position because they don't switch into a Pokemon very well initially, and a bunch of chip, or your hazard lead Sash mons and things like that. It's so valuable in such an offensive generation. So I think that alone, plus the application of keeping Focus Sash on Pokemon to guarantee the one hit if you keep hazards away, or if their Magic Guard, is very nice and very worth it. We're gonna go ahead and put it in low A tier for sure, but definitely an A tier item in my opinion. So yeah, there it goes. Next up, oh man, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what this Incense is. We just saw F. What is this? Is this already a G item? Do we not have any other ones in G? It's not Lum Berry. We're gonna look up Incense. The full Incense is an illegal item. And so it doesn't even tell me what it does. It's probably like an evasion boosting. I don't know. It's going in ban then. Like, sorry. And next we have the Lum Berry, which I saw. And this is going to be another terrible berry. It's one of the 1/4 boosted stat berries, which is pretty bad. Then we have Grassy Seed, which is going to go right here with Electric Seed. Grip Claw. This is the binding band, but good. I think this is high D, but better than Binding Band, because having an increased amount of turns that a Pokemon is trapped could be very valuable, and probably more valuable than them taking more damage from the trapping, right? So we're going to go ahead and put that up in D tier. Grisius Orb and Crystal are going to go here. Chhon Berry up in S tier. That is a Dragon Reducing Berry. Then we have the Hardstone, which is going to go right here with all the other type increasing guys, right? In B tier, and again, I'm not really ranking a lot of these B tier guys in order. We have the Heavy Duty Boots, which is the best item in Pokemon Draft League. Now, if it is so broken, it is the best item in draft day, why don't we ban heavy duty boots like a lot of leagues and people say we should? Well, the reason we don't do that is because the game is worse without them. And I am a firm believer that hazards were ruining the game and were way too over centralizing in a lot of metagames, in the sense that you needed a certain amount of removal, you needed good removal, you need to make sure that X Pokemon could do it, and really cut the viability down of a ton of Pokemon, where now we at least have the option of running an item at the cost of running another item, right? We don't get to run leftovers or Scarf Band Specs, whatever the item is. We don't get to run those, the reduced berries, but we don't have to take hazards anymore, which is really big and adds a lot of counterplay to just hazard stack herder offense, which I think is really important, especially in this generation where there's no removal in the game. Like, there's like 3 good spinners, 2 good defoggers, and that's it. Right? That's really it. And then you just hopefully don't draft hazard weak mons. Plus, on top of the fact that a lot of these hazard weak mons are getting, spike stacked on by everything, because everything got spikes this generation. I think that boots are a necessary evil in order for this metagame to not be unplayable. But with that being said, they're obviously very good, and that's why they're going to go in S tier as the best item in the game. For sure. Next up, we have Iron Ball. Iron Ball is going to go in low C. There are definitely like trick Iron Ball applications that are really solid. Being able to ground Pokemon as well as reduce their speed by a ton is obviously very good. H-I... Jaboca Berry. There it is. I knew that there was a J Berry. This is a physical Rocky Helmet, one-time use. I have seen this used for against Kurt. It was Jaboca, I think, for his Lugia or something like that. It might not have been for Lugia. It might have been for I might have seen this for like a Dragonite or something like that. This is going to go in D tier. We'll put it a little bit higher because I have seen it used. We have Cassib, which is Ghost Berry, Kebia, which is Poison Berry, King's Rock, which is banned, and then we have the Key Berry. I love the Key Berry. We're going to go ahead and put this in C tier, personally. There are a lot of Pokemon that really enjoy having the boosted defense, and they start Calm Minding, and then they stored power through. Mons like Reuniclus, Mons like Clefable, Cresselia, those fat, bulky, annoying Calm Mind Pokemon. Getting that defense boost on top of that is really going to help for those stored power sets, and just boosting up to where you don't die anymore, right? So definitely a solid item. We're also going to go ahead and put Lagging Tail in B tier. It's like a better Iron Ball in 90% of instances. Unless you want a Pokemon to be grounded, it is better to probably trick a Lagging Tail because it's going to make them move last in their priority bracket, right? So that's obviously very nice there. Then we have, oh my gosh, what is L... What is this berry? Hijklm. It's not a Mago Berry. Yo, what is this berry? Is this a Tomato Berry? I thought this was Tomato. Why is it up here? It's not Tomato. Yo, what is this berry? Is this a Ross? No, what is this berry? Landsat Berry. Oh, it's Focus Energy. This is demonic. I think this is better than the other pinch berries that boost a stat, right? Because, like, it's like a Focus Energy, which is cool. So, like, Endure could, like, work as a Focus Energy type item. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. That doesn't mean it's good, right? The Incenses we're just going to go ahead and put in the bottom tier. Leftovers is going to go up here in S tier. So the second best item in the game, getting that consistent health back over, multiple turns is going to be very big and very helpful over time. So I think that goes in S tier. Lepa Berry, I don't really see too many competitive uses for this. Lychee Berry is going to be the attack pinch boosting berry. And these are the only pinch boosting stat berries. Is going to be Lychee and Pataya are going to be the only, like, okay ones. We're gonna go ahead and put this in C tier. There are definitely, like, unburdened Pokemon that can run, like, Endure Lychee Berry sets, like Mons like Hitmonlee in the past would run it. There's definitely, like, application for Lychee Berry, right? Or even if we set up an Agility and then Endure and we get our Lychee Berry off, Mons like Sceptile could potentially use it. Mons like Hawlucha, Mons like Grafai, I guess, even though you have Swords Dance. There's a lot of Pokemon that get SD instead, but it was more so in the past that you would see this a lot. Or again, on a Pokemon, maybe you boost up the speed, you don't really have the opportunity to Swords Dance, or you don't get Swords Dance or Bulk Up, and you can go ahead and get up that boost in that way. So I think it's like low C because of that, personally. I think it's like bottom of C. And we have Life Orb. Life Orb, I'm going to put an A tier, but I'm actually personally not super huge. Oh, I didn't mean to move cuss that. On Life Orb in a lot of instances. Now, there are great Pokemon that really love it. And again, there are certainly matchups where like running a life orb and taking that chip in exchange for OHKOing pretty much everything on the opposing side is going to be incredibly valuable. But in a lot of instances, taking that chip is a very bad thing. It's going to whittle you down. It's going to allow your opponent to pivot around you, get in their breaker, and then your Pokemon's at like 10% because they've been just slowly killing themselves. But there's also Magic Guard Pokemon and Sheer Force Pokemon that really appreciate it. Even defensive Pokemon like Reuniclus Clef really like holding a life orb in a lot of matchups. And then you have obviously, you know, mons that aren't currently Dex mons like Alakazam, mons like Nidoking and Nidoqueen with their Sheer Force are really going to appreciate holding that life orb. So I think it's still an A tier item. But yeah. Then we have Light Ball. Light Ball can go at the bottom of C2. It makes one Pokemon infinitely better, but can't be used by anything else. No, that's top of D tier. You cannot put that in C tier. Light Clay is going to go ahead and go in B tier. Great item on screen. Now we're going to put an A tier. On screens, it's like almost a necessity, right? Getting like a full 8 turns is so much different than stalling out just 5 turns, and it makes those setup variants really solid. We have Loaded Dice, and this is the definition of a B tier item for me. I know a lot of people love their like Scale Shot, Icicle Spear, Loaded Dice mons, but I really don't think it's all too great in a lot of instances. In a lot of instances, even just like a Life Orb out damages the Loaded Dice. Now, getting the guaranteed 5 hits without having much drawback is obviously very good, but it is a very niche item, not used on a ton of things. Mons like Breloom, I actually will run Life Orb on instead of Loaded Dice because it makes my Amok Punches incredibly strong, and I'm not planning on taking hits with my Breloom anyway, so I'd rather probably run the run Life Orb over Loaded Dice, but that's just me, right? I could be tripping. And we have the Lum Berry. Lum's gonna go in B as well. Great berry. In many instances. We're gonna put it top A. I think top A, or bottom A, is probably a fair place to put this thing. Getting rid of status guaranteed is obviously very valuable for a lot of different Pokemon. Let's look. L. Is there anything with this? I don't know what this item is. I told you guys, there's some of these I'm just not gonna know what they are. I actually genuinely could not tell you what this is. I could not tell you what this is. What is this? Is this Luminous Moss? It is Luminous Moss. It's just water absorb thing with, or absorb bulb thing with Spadef, so pretty bad. Then we have the Lustrous Orb and the Lustrous Crystal. Gonna go down here. Type increasing berry in the, or type increasing item in the magnet. We're just gonna go ahead and put it up here. And what is this M item? Moringa Berry, Spadef, after getting hit by a special attack. I'm not super big on the Moringa Berry, definitely not the same level of like a Key Berry. I think this thing's gonna go in D tier. Niche Berry that I have seen some use on. Mental Herb is going to be a very solid item. I think C tier is about perfect for this. It's very niche, not used on a ton of Pokemon, but more passive Pokemon love the ability to not be taunted at all. I've seen Mental Herb Pokemon either on Screamtail or like against Screamtail to not get Encored in. I've seen Mental Herb for Encore actually a ton this generation because I feel like there's a ton of fast Encore. So yeah, I think that's definitely a solid one. What is this? Hold up, what in the world is this? Is this metal powder? Is this the, this isn't Metal Coat, is it? I think it is Metal Coat. Yo, is this Metal Coat? I'm gonna say it's Metal Coat. If it's not Metal Coat, I'm sorry, but we're just gonna say it's Metal Coat, and we're gonna put it in B tier, with all the other type increasing fellas, right? Metronome. Metronome used to be considered a very good item, but now we learned that, like, Protect and Sub and things like that do end up kind of like blocking it, and that's obviously not a good thing. I do think there's still like some niche viability in it and putting it in like the top of D tier, but Pokemon like Kyurem used to run all the time, and now they simply don't because it's not great. Mickleberry. Holder's next move has 1.2% accuracy when it... I have never even heard of this item before, but it's gonna go down here. We have the Miracle Seed, which is gonna go up here with the type increasing items. Misty Seed, while I see it, is gonna go right here, and I might as well just grab Psychic Seed, right? Where in the world is Psychic Seed? Punching. Yo, they just don't have Psychic Seed on here. That's crazy. Justice for Psychic Seed, honestly. Oran Bear's gonna go there because I touched it. Mirror Herb. Mirror Herb is a very solid item in Draft League. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in B tier. Maybe a little bit higher, honestly. I think Mirror Herb has a ton of viability in this format where there's so much scary setup. There's all of these Shell Smash Pokemon that don't immediately threaten you, so you can come in, prevent them from smashing, live one hit if they don't, and threaten them out, potentially. I mean, I call it like the Torterra effect. Every time I've played a Torterra in Draft, I've brought Mirror Herb, and the opponent just like doesn't bring Smash anymore because everybody's so scared of giving another another Pokemon a similar Sash boost. So I think in a generation where there's like a lot of crazy, scary setup, it's really nice to potentially just be able to stop that altogether. So we're going to go ahead and put that in B tier. Is this the Muscle Band? Muscle Band's going to go in D tier. Don't run Muscle Band. Mystic Water, it's going to go here with the boosting. Never Melt Ice, same thing. Then we have the Normal Gem. Normal Gem is probably going to go in B tier for me. No, we're going to put it in C tier. I can't justifiably put it any higher than that. There definitely is Pokemon that can proc on Burden and maybe get a strong Explosion or Self-Destruct off, but overall, not the greatest item in the world. I do think that like it has cool niche usability on like something like Ursaluna Blood Moon too. I haven't seen it yet, but I feel like a Normal Gem boosted Blood Moon is a very scary thing to switch into. It's like almost a one-time specs boost while being able to switch up your move afterwards. So I think that's pretty cool, but other than that, not really. Let's go ahead and look. Is there an... Oh, this is Aqua, right? Yeah, that's Aqua. I was going to say, is this Aqua Berry? We have another Incense, which is going to go down here in the band not used. Chesto Berry is going to go up here in S tier with all the other increasing berries. Payapa. Then you have Pekka Berry, which is going to be the Poison Berry. This is going to go in D tier. Again, there are niche uses for Pekka Berry to, get rid of a poison, but not a burn, or a para, or a sleep, or something like that, but still not good, right? I'm not going to pretend it's good. Then we have... What is this berry? P? Is it Pomeg? No. What is this? What is this item? It's not Perism. This is Pataya Berry, which is going to go in with Lychee Berry, probably a little bit higher, personally. I don't know what this other berry is, though. We're just going to say it's a bad berry. Because I actually genuinely cannot find it. Is this Perism? If it's Perism, it's just the same thing. It's like low D, but... Interesting. We have Pixie Plate, and by extension, Fairy Feather. I think this tiering list does not have Fairy Feather on it, but something to keep in mind. Poison Barb, and then... What is this item? Oh my gosh, what is this leaf? So we just saw Pixie Plate, Poison Barb. We're going to P... Power Herb is going to go nice here in B tier. There definitely are a ton of instances where Power Herb was good. Electroshot or Shalodon is a new one, but we obviously have Meteor Beam coming back into the game, or even have moves like Solar Beam that do require that turn of charge and setup. You want to get those off immediately is really, really nice and really cool as a tech option for a Pokemon that typically would check you otherwise. So that's a good one. Protective Pads is a great item in draft. We also see Psychic Seed here, but Protective Pads is going to be a great item to prevent yourself from taking Flame Body from, burns from Flame Body, statics from, or Pairs from Static. I keep mixing it up. Or obviously Rocky Helmets and things like that. Punching Club is very similar, but only on punching moves, but you do get a boost on the punching moves as well. So Pokemon like Urshifu really, really appreciate this thing. This item feels like it was made for Melmetal, and a generation Melmetal isn't in. Unfortunately, like Punching Glove Melmetal sounds so shiced, but it's all good. No big deal, right? You get the Quick Claw. It's going to go down here in the bottom ban / not used. Please don't allow it. We have Ross Berry, which is going to go down here as well. And then we have the Razor Claw. Is this Razor? Yeah, this is Razor Claw. Critical hit ratio is going to be raised by 1 stage. This definitely isn't bad. We're going to go ahead and put it in C tier, like Focus Energy plus Razor Claw / Scope Lens is the same thing. It's just whichever one you want to use. We're going to go ahead and move Scope Lens to the same spot, right? This is Scope Lens, right? I'm pretty sure that's Scope Lens. Yeah, looks like it. But yeah, Rindu Berry is going to go up here in S tier with all the other type increasing berries. Then we have Ring Target. Where are we going to put Ring Target? I think high D is fine. We'll put it in low C, actually. I think low C is fine. There are niche instances where, like, tricking on a ring target onto a Pokemon is very, very valuable. Something like Rotom being able to trick a ring target onto something like a Scythe / Swampert, and then being able to Volt Switch around forever is very, very valuable for a lot of teams. But, yeah, it's still not great. I mean, like, there's, like, always, like, the Zoroark switch or ring target shenanigans. If you trick it on, if you disguise yourself as Regieleki, it can make non-Terra Lecky actually usable. So... yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and put another Incense in here in D. Same thing with this one. Same thing with this one. There we go. Is there any more? I don't know, but it's fine. Then we have the Rocky Helmet. I'm going to put the Rocky Helmet up here in S tier. I love being able to punish physical attackers, especially where Draft League player click U-turn. Being able to stop Draft League player from clicking U-turn is very, very nice and very, very valuable. So we're going to go ahead and put that up here in S tier. Room Service is a terrible item. An item we thought was going to be good, but wasn't. There, I have seen it used in niche instances sometimes by like Hoopa, Unbound, and things like that. But overall, not a good item. We have the Roselli Berry, which is going to be a S tier item as it is a type reducing berry. Then we have, what is this item though? What berry is that? Is that Roap Berry? It is Roap Berry. So this is the one that Kurt had to deal with, and this is gonna go here again, like high D probably. It's like a Rocky Helmet one time for a special attack, which is cool. And with the Rusted Shield and Sword, which are gonna go down here in D tier. Here's another Incense I missed. There we go. We have the safety goggles, which are probably going to be a high C tier item. Being able to not take like spores and sleep powders is potentially very, very valuable. So I think that's obviously a good one. Salic Berry is also going to be a solid C tier item. Being able to guarantee get a speed boost after we endure, maybe we SC and then get a Salic Berry boost. I think it's better than all of the other, pinch berries. It's definitely the best of them. We have a Sharp Beak, which is going to go ahead and go up here in B tier with all the other guys. Shed Shell is also going to be a B tier item. It's really, really valuable to not be able to be trapped by Pokemon like Gothitelle and Dugtrio. Really, really does give some good counterplay to those, and is the reason that we can kind of allow those Pokemon in a Draft League setting where we can't in like a Smogon setting, because if I know the Goth is coming, I can run Shed Shell on the Pokemon that's going to be trapped by it potentially. So I think that's obviously great. We have Shell Bell now, and that's going to go in D tier. Please don't run Shell Bell. We have Sugar Berry, S tier. Silk Scarf, B tier. Silver Powder, B tier. An actual item that we can rank in the Citrus area, which is going to go probably up in A tier. I'm a big, not in S tier. Probably up in A tier. I'm a big citrus guy. I think there's a lot of Pokemon that really do appreciate taking one hit, getting back up to, around 60 to 75-ish%, and living the next one subsequently after. There's a lot of calcs that can really be benefited by a Citrus Berry. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and put that there. I have no idea what Snowball is. Let's see. There's always attack if it's hit by an Ice type attack. Okay. Well, you're really bad. So you're going to go in D tier. Soft Sand, probably one of the better type increasing berries, to be completely honest. Where did he go? Yo, where did Soft Sand go? Am I blind? Yo, where did Buddy go? Where did Buddy go? I lost him. Soft Sand's in B tier. I don't know where he went though. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you go? Soft Sand, there it goes. Okay, cool. There we go. Probably one of the better one. What else is after Spell Tag? This is the Ghost type one. I was going to say, this doesn't even look like a Spell Tag, but I guess I don't know what that is. Starfberry is the coolest looking berry. I really like the way it looks. It looks like it tastes really good, but this basically gives a random stat boost by 2 whenever you're really low. It's like funny on like Harvest Pokemon. It's definitely a very cheesy item, but I have seen it used before to like decent success. Sticky Barb is going to be a C tier item. Being able to trick this onto an opposing Pokemon is very valuable. Pokemon like Clefable love running Trick Sticky Barb, so I think that's definitely a really, really good one. Then we have the Tanga Berry, which is going to be a S tier item because it is a resist berry. Then what is this T right here? Terrain Extender, another very niche item, but Pokemon like Pincurchin really like running it. Pokemon like Rillaboom can run it definitely as well. So I think that's definitely a solid option for sure. What is Throat Spray? Probably C tier as well. Again, Pokemon that can gain boost from this item are going to really, really appreciate it. Getting a +1 their special attack when they click a sound-based move. So Pokemon like Komo-o, when they set up Clangor Soul, Pokemon like Toxtricity are really going to appreciate this. Pokemon like even Ursaluna Blood Moon are really going to appreciate this if they're coming in one and done. Toxic Orb is going to go right up here in B tier. Now, why is it higher than C tier Flame Orb? Because there are also instances where Toxic Orb is great on Poison Heal Pokemon. Obviously, Breloom was one, but the big one is going to be Gliscor, getting healing every turn, as well as being a status absorber because it's always going to be poisoned, but also getting health back, which is really, really valuable in my opinion. We have Twisted Spoon, which is going to go up here in B tier. And the only reason it's not higher is because only Gliscor and Breloom really benefit from that item. But also tricking a Toxic Orb can be very valuable. Utility Umbrella, going to go down here in D tier. Another terrible item that could have been really, really cool. We have Wakan Berry. Then we have the Weakness Policy in S tier. This is Weakness Mickey Hours. Oh, we love Weakness Policy in this household. Being able to take a super effective hit, EVing for it, obviously, and then potentially just straight up winning the game is so valuable. There are so many Pokemon that you're like, oh god, I don't want to hit them with, you know, a strong EQ surf flamethrower, because if they're weakness policy and they live this, I might lose the game. And it very much so happens a lot. So I think that's definitely a cool one. White Herb is going to go to high C tier probably. We'll go low B. Personally, in my opinion, like, obviously, like, Shell Smash Pokemon really appreciate it. There are also other instances where White Herb can be very, very solid. Zoom Lens is going to go here in, like, C tier. Wise Glasses is going to go here in D tier. Please don't run Wise Glasses. Then we have the Yachi Berry. And what is this last Z item? I have one more item, and I don't even know what it is. Z. Zoom Lens. What did I just put in D before that? It can't be anything good, right? I don't know what it is. Can't be. What is this? What is this item? I don't know. Zoom Lens is like worse, right? Its accuracy is 1.2 if it moves after its target, which is crazy to put a restriction on that item. But yeah, that's gonna be our tier list. I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller so you can see a little bit better. Let's make it even smaller so you can see a little bit better. Obviously, S tier is mostly taken up by the resist berries, but obviously we have some incredible upper echelon items with heavy duty boots, leftover scarf, Rocky Helmet, Weakness Policy, and AV. A tier is all of very common items you're going to see other than those. Booster, Scarf, Custap, Choice Specs, Eject Button, Red Card, EV Light, Focus Sash, Life Orb, Light Play, Lum, and Citrus. And then everything else is kind of niche and B tier slash solid. And then C tier and below is where you get either really niche or downright bad. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know if you super disagree, if you agree, if you think I'm an idiot or super smart and handsome. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. And yeah, that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Later.